On this episode of LARP Chats, I'll be interviewing Narwhals. At the time of this recording, they play out of Valera of the Emerald Coast, a Belegarth group in Tacoma, Washington. This season of LARP Chats focuses on Legacy, and we'll have players from both Amtgard and Belgarth. In this episode, you'll hear about Narwhal's Belgarth journey and learn about some of the most important traditions she's encountered in Belegarth. You'll also learn about what kind of legacy she would like to leave behind. Please consider hitting the like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more LARP content. You can also consider supporting me on Patreon, link in the description below. And now on to the episode. Hello, and welcome to LARP Chats. I'm your host, Bale Norn. Today we have Narwhals. They've been playing Belgarth for 13 years out of Tacoma, Washington. That is the realm of what?
Alara.
Alara of Emerald Hills?
Of the Emerald Coast.
Emerald Coast,
Yep.
My bad.
Close enough.
So when you first started playing, who was someone that kind of took you under your wing and kind of taught you some lessons about the game or about the community, and what did you learn from them?
When I started playing, it was a coworker of mine who was trying to start actually a Dagohir realm, and it kind of morphed into a Belegarth realm just because Dagohir wasn't really popular out on the West Coast. And so he introduced me to the sport. Him and my current partner were two people that got me into it, helped outfit me with some weapons, and started teaching me how to play the game. Once I had been in the sport a few years, and Alara itself has gone through various periods of having fluctuating membership, but there was a fighter named Ryu, now Sir Ryu, who was the leader at the time, and he is a fabulous fighter. I really loved learning from him and his fighting style, so I definitely learned a little bit more technical skill from him as I was fighting. I've spent a variety of years in the sport where I've fought less versus other times, kind of focused on different things in it, but definitely my friend Joe and then Obi and Ryu are probably the first three people who really kind of imprinted that basic knowledge onto me and got me started in Belegarth.
Were there any lessons that you learned besides fighting from these mentors or the game about the community or, for example, leadership aspect, or is that something further down the line?
Further down, watching the other fighters do combat skills, but also leadership and community-driven things. When I went to my first kind of big event, which was a Western Wars in I think 2014, that was really my first experience, seeing how people volunteer and help the community, and how it is such a community-driven sport. It takes a whole village, people who want to run events and run practices and realms, just how many people it takes to work together to make all these things happen. And that was really cool to see when I first was in the game a couple years. And so definitely doing community-driven forward stuff, helping people learn, what works for them, what fits for them, what part of Belegarth can you be part of, and still be true to yourself and have fun, because that's what we're here for, to have fun, or you're not doing it right. So definitely I watched a lot of that aspect before, I think, involving myself in it more. It's only been in probably the last 2 to 3 years that I've really stepped into more community roles, or the leadership position that I'm in as part of Alara, running my tavern that I run at various events, and that has really propelled me into the community more than I thought it would. I know so many more people, I've had so many more contacts, I've met so many cool people and been involved in more events that way, and that's been very enriching and very rewarding.
Well, only 2 years out of your 13, 2
I
or
know.
3 years.
I know.
That's pretty recent for sure.
It does feel like I wasn't doing a whole lot, and then all of a sudden I'm doing so much. And I think that's just part of my journey in Belegarth, and everybody's journey and how they experience it is so different. And I definitely feel that when I first started, I thought there was a one track through Belegarth. There's one way that you do everything. There's one way that you learn everything, or how people go about, and that's just not true. It's kind of how you want to structure that and grow and learn, and what you're interested in and exploring in Belegarth. Yeah.
That sounds great. Sounds like a really unique experience that you've enjoyed.
It is. It definitely has been.
As you've been in the game for a while, have you found the positions reversed, where you're mentoring newer people that are stepping in? And if so, what lessons have you imparted to them?
I think that that's happened a little bit more recently, in the last 1 to 2 years, where I've met newer people or been introduced to newer people who seek out my advice, or how did you get started doing this? And I think the number one thing that I want to try and impart to new players, or even people who aren't as new, but just like from my own experience, is like, have fun. Because if you're not having fun, then there's no point. Why are we wasting our time, our money, our resources, just like to be with our friends and do things? Like, I want people to have fun, whether they're having fun experiencing combat aspect of the sport, arts and sciences aspect, nightlife and other social activities, or, like helping other people and like giving service to the community. Like, find what makes you happy and just follow that.
That is a very important lesson that some people forget or didn't learn, and I'm glad that you make sure that people remember that this is also a game.
It's
you
a
have
game.
fun.
It's a game.
Even if you're volunteering and you're working, you should try to have some fun, so it's not just for a leadership, for example, you can get burnt out if you not have any fun.
Yes.
And just it can be rough.
There's definitely a balance of, hey, I want to give service to the community, I want to help, but I also have to take care of myself and have fun. Otherwise, like, I'm going to be upset. I'm going to be burnt out and depressed, and I'm not having fun, and then I don't want to do it anymore. And that's definitely been something I've been learning with leadership, is like that work-life balance, that home-life balance, because like Belegarth is a huge part of my life, but it's also a hobby. Yep. It is not my whole life. And so I think people learning, like when I first started, everyone was like, yeah, like we're doing this because we're nerds and we want to get dressed up and we want to have fun, which is awesome. But trying to find what your definition of fun is it super important, because when I first started, I wanted combat to be my favorite thing, and it is important to me, but there's so much more to Belegarth than just fighting. And so I definitely think that my journey of wanting to be good at combat, but then kind of stepping away from combat and focusing on other things, exploring other things, and then now recently getting more into combat has been a really rewarding experience. Even though I've been in the sport for 13 years, I haven't been fighting the entirety of my 13 years. And so I've picked up fighting more recently, and I don't consider myself a new fighter. I'm not like a newbie, because I've been around, and like you absorb like a sponge from the people around you and watching them fight. But I'm also like, not someone who would say I'm 13 years of fighter experience.
Right.
But like I've said, it's my journey. I wouldn't change it. It's been very rewarding.
Well, that's great. I know foam fighting is one of my favorite aspects. So I'm glad that you're going around almost circular and getting back into the foam mat fighting aspect. Mm-hmm. It's quite the journey.
Yeah. And I've considered different parts of peerage and what that looks like for me as someone who wasn't fighting, who is wanting to fight more, but wanting to explore the different paths of peerage in Belegarth and like finding what works for me. So that's kind of been a fun little side quest journey in the last like year or so.
Yeah, like if we're not here for side quests, what are we doing?
No, right. The main quest I thought was there is not real. There's just a bunch of side quests that you participate on, and that's what's important. And like enjoying those side quests too. And the people, like I've met so many wonderful people through Belegarth. It is definitely where I think I've had the most like social outreach in my life. Just people from, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, California, Utah, Nevada. Just all these people that I'm so happy that I get to see at events or meet. Like that social aspect is definitely really big for me. And I know it is for a lot of people as well. We're all just a bunch of people with ADHD and autism that just like band together, it seems, is the running fun Belegarth joke. So I do think that we are a tribe. We are a special little tribe of people that find each other.
And for people that don't play these games or don't have this unique community aspect in their hobby, don't understand exactly like how wide of a net this really can be. Because as you're saying, basically the whole northwest of America, they're your friends. They're people that you see, even if it's not necessarily every week. Yeah. You get to go to these big events, and it's a unique experience that people outside of the hobby don't usually get. Yeah. And I'm glad that we're able to experience that.
Yeah, and I know that Washington, we've always, I've been going to events like Western Wars, Chaos Wars. I've gone to a Bifter, trying to do some more California events this year, like War of Wrath. And there's kind of a part of Washington's community that does a really good job of being able to get out there, go to these events and travel. But for some people, it's not as feasible. And like with Trials of the Pacific Main and Washington. I think that's been a real boon to the Pacific Northwest and the fighters here who we want to experience this and be like, this is why we do it. This is why we travel. This is why this is so much fun. Like maybe they'll be influenced to come and like try it and travel a little bit. But also just to bring other people from other states to Washington. The state is beautiful. It has so much to offer. Our climate in the summer is definitely going to be that draw-in as it gets hotter. Yay, global warming. Yeah. So I think there's just a lot of evolution that is continuing to happen in the Washington fighting scene for sure.
Out of all the advice that you received over the years, what's one piece that really stuck with you throughout your hobby career?
One that I received very recently too, this was actually at this year's trials. I was really shy about putting myself onto the fighting field. I was feeling a little insecure. I was just like, there's all these great people out here and like, I want to, cause like it looks like fun, but also I know I'm not real good compared to all these people and like dying is part of it. It's just how we get better. But Ace came out and she ended up like pushing me into the 2v2s with Dyer and we fought. And we had a fabulous time, and then I ended up getting rung into the 5v5s and fighting in some of the tournaments. I had such a good time, and I, like, at the end of that field fighting for the day, I just went up and, like, hugged Ace, and I said, thank you so much for, like, pushing me, like, giving me that nudge, and, like, kind of teaching me that, like, if you aren't feeling secure in that moment, you're a little worried about what other people might think, just do it. Just go. Like you have to push your comfort out of that box, which I have had a hard time with in Belegarth. I think that's part of a big reason like combat was so hard for a long time. And as I've grown and learned, it's gotten a lot easier. But I think that is something that I've seen some fighters that's not a problem. They just take to the field. Yeah. Like they just go and they're just like having fun. And I'm like, yeah, I wish I could do that. Like that would be but that wasn't my experience and that wasn't, part of my journey, and that's okay. Because it's different for everybody, and I'm here now and I'm growing and learning and having a good time now. So that's really all that matters, I think.
Yeah, I think so. As long as you're having fun.
Yep, have fun. Scarlett's takeaway, have fun.
It's a good takeaway. What kind of traditions have you experienced in Belegarth that you really cherish and you think should continue?
I think some of the traditions that I've seen in Belegarth as a whole that are really fun to watch and potentially to be part of are different trials for people in peerage or whatever kind of journey you're on and you want to be challenged. I think trials are a really good way to better yourself, to challenge yourself, to be involved with different people and different fighters and styles. I've seen trials that have been really cool. I've seen trials that make me like cringe because that looks like, ouch, this would suck to be part of right now. Like I could not do this trial, but trials are all catered to the people who want to do them. But I think that depending on your journey in Belegarth, that various trials are important. And so that is definitely like a thing in Belegarth that I really enjoy watching and will potentially be part of at some point in my journey. I think that like locally we have traditions that I can speak more fondly of. We have a event every year in July called the Kill, Grill, and Chill that our realm does, and that has been such a fun little thing to be part of because we all just get together. It's summer, it's hot, we grill food and we fight and we have a really good time, and it's just grown every single year for the last couple of years, and that's been a really fun like event themed tradition.
For those that have not played Belegarth, can you briefly explain what a trial, the concept of a trial is?
Yeah, a trial is usually set by someone who is under a knight and is a squire, and they are working their way toward knightship, and so they go through different challenges and trials that are meant to challenge them and help them grow. Sometimes the squires set the trials for themselves, and sometimes their knight helps set trials. If you're experiencing a like non-combat side of peerage, then you still have trials that are set forth by the person that you're underneath. There are like for people who cannot do combat, don't want to do combat, but still want involvement, want to better themselves, want to have that challenge, then that exists for you. And I'm kind of deciding which one of those is like where I would go if I was gonna pursue peerage and bettering myself. So definitely some good options, but it's just a challenge. It's meant to challenge you and help you grow. help you learn something at the end of the day and at the end of that trial.
Well,
This is my personal understanding, at least.
Are there any stories from before you started playing that have been passed down through the Belegarth ages that you can recall?
I don't think I have any good stories that were told to me when I started about different people and different fighters or like founding members of different realms. I know lots of fun stories that I've been part of and experienced over the years. Some of them probably not appropriate for this interview. I'm sure what shenanigans you get into in Belegarth. I don't feel like I've had a lot of that part of Belegarth. I haven't had those people explain to me different stories from when Belegarth was first conceived and started. I know people who probably know stories, but I don't have any that I can recall super well.
Not a problem.
Yeah, for this interview.
So what are you most proud of that you've accomplished or contributed to the community of Belgarth over the years?
I'm really proud of my tavern that I started running. I think the first event I ran it at was the Western Wars of 2018 before COVID. It was because we got a bunch of Washington people to get to Western Wars. I said, we're the Emerald Coast, so I want to run the Emerald Dragon Tavern. And I had 2 different dispenser drinks. I made Monster Punch. I brought stuff to make margaritas because someone told me that Belgium loved margaritas, and I literally made like 1 margarita. So I will never I did do margaritas last year, but not handmade like in a dispenser. And the tavern was donation-based only. You know, we want people to have fun. We wanted to bring something as the Emerald Coast for the event. And it went really, really well. I had a great time. Everyone who was helping me, I had so much support and help from my realm mates and community members, and it was awesome. And I said, yeah, I would do this again. I would run this again. And then COVID happened, and so it didn't happen again until first Western Wars after COVID. I can't remember where the site was, but it was 2 Western Wars ago. And
the Oregon Forage Center with the big hill.
Yes, with the big hill,
Yeah.
And I, brought my little setup. I was super excited. I had my realm mate and friend helping, and we ended up drawing over half the event in front of my canopy as opposed to the DJ night that was happening. And so that was kind of terrifying and impressive at the same time. And the staff asked me to come run the tavern at last year's Western Wars, so I did, and that was a lot of fun. I have run it at the Trials of the Pacific Main the last 2 years. I did Battle for Bywater that happened a couple of years ago in Idaho. That was hot, and my Jello shots were liquid by the time that people got them, but that's fine. At Chaos Wars, I participated in the pub crawl this last Chaos Wars, and I won. So
it was a competition.
Yes. It was less me running the tavern and more participating in the pub crawl. I did a anime-themed tavern. I was playing anime music, and if you could tell me what song was playing from what anime, you got prizes. We had a projector up playing anime. It was really fun.
That sounds pretty cool.
I went all out for that one. I won. I didn't need to go that hard, but it was a lot of fun. Definitely really enjoy doing it. It's a lot of work. It's a little stressful at times, but it's been a weird place to find myself in the community with people asking for help and just, how did I start doing this thing? But I'm really proud of what I've created. It's been a really fun social endeavor in Belegarth for me, for sure, and helping facilitate different nightlife. And I usually have non-alcoholic options for people as well, because I want everybody to be able to feel like they're participating, whether they choose to imbibe or not. I think that's what I'm most proud of, bringing and learning, outside of also have fun. And just learning to have fun with, what I'm comfortable with doing, what I've learned, instead of what other people might expect me to do, or what I even had expectations of myself that were potentially not realistic. It's been a journey.
Do you plan on continuing this tradition that you started?
Yeah. As many events as I can manage with my, time and finances. Definitely Western Wars is always a fun one. Chaos Wars probably won't participate in the pub crawl every single year, but if they wanted help running different activities, I'm always here to help with that, because that's fun. I will always do it for trials, do it in the home event. If there's other events that people coordinate that they reach out to me, I've been, talking with them about, hey, what are your dates and what are you looking for? So possibility for doing it more times, just kind of depends on the event.
Well, I'm glad that you found a new joy to continue getting you involved in the community even more.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Eventually, you'll no longer be in the community. Either you've aged out of it, you've died. What kind of legacy would you like to have left behind in the community after you've gone?
That's a question. I definitely think it'd be fun if, like, I no longer run my tavern, that somebody else wants to run the Emerald Dragon Tavern. I have a really beautiful sign that Dwarf made me that I love, and so, like, passing that little mantle off to somebody else could be kind of fun. I think if I leave any kind of legacy for people that I know or people that I meet, is that, you should be true to yourself and you should have fun. You should do what makes you happy and have fun. And if you're not having fun, then you're not doing it right. I think that would make me the happiest if I can leave that little nugget of wisdom that people can quote from me or something. Yeah.
How do you think Belgarth will evolve over the next 5, 10, or maybe even 20 years?
I think there's a lot of evolution to be had in Belegarth. I think they will continue developing different fighting styles and safety styles around those things. I think that there's a lot to be said for, like, the arts and sciences and different aspects of non-combat that will continue to develop and that will involve people at different events and, like, the local level. I do think that where certain events take place during certain times of the year will evolve because of global warming and certain places, different times in the year, and the temperatures just not being fun to camp in 90+ degree weather.
Yeah.
So I think definitely, like, where events are held is going to definitely change. I think the most probably over the next 5 to 10 years, if not more.
If you could leave one message for future generations of Belgarth players, what would that message be?
I would definitely say to explore. Try different things in Belegarth, try different styles, experience all of the different things that the community and the sport has to offer, because if you come into it thinking, oh, I really like this one thing, or oh, this one thing is really exciting, but you don't look at those other aspects or explore those other aspects, then you're kind of doing yourself a disservice, because you might have a lot of fun. You might be really interested in those things, but until you just kind of go out of your comfort zone and give it a try, you'll never know. So just don't be afraid to explore and, be open to that change and that growth.
That's good advice, not just in Belegarth, but life. It's just good life advice. Thank you.
Also that. Yeah.
So thank you for tuning into LARP Chats. Thanks to Narwhals for being an interviewee today. Stay excited, stay inspired, and keep fighting.